All right, let's dive into something that could honestly change the way you approach your work and maybe even your life. We're going to talk about an ancient philosophy that is incredibly relevant today, how to take all that professional stress and turn it into real, sustainable success. It's all about mastering your mindset to thrive no matter what your job throws at you. So let me ask you, does this sound familiar? You pour your heart and soul into a project, but you're constantly on edge, worrying about hitting that target, getting that promotion, or what the quarterly numbers are going to look like. It's this endless cycle of high hopes followed by this crushing anxiety.
And that, right there, is the core of the problem. We chain our happiness, our sense of self-worth, to things that are, a lot of the time, completely out of our hands. Things like market swings, a client changing their mind out of the blue, or a deal that just vaporizes. Focusing on all that external stuff, it just creates a constant state of stress.
This brings us to what I like to call the outcome obsession trap. It's really the source of so much of our modern professional anxiety.
So, where do we find the solution? Well, for that, we're going to travel back in time. We're looking for wisdom from an ancient battlefield.
Picture this. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, a warrior prince named Arjuna is having a total crisis of confidence. And his guide, Lord Krishna, gives him this absolute game-changing advice from the Bhagavad Gita. So what's he really saying to us? Well, it means your job, your right, is to give your absolute best effort. It's to write the best code, deliver the most compelling pitch, or create the sharpest strategy you can. The outcome of that, the fruit of your action, that's not guaranteed. And in fact, it's not even your right.
And he doesn't stop there. This next part is brilliant. Krishna says that true yoga isn't about twisting yourself into a pretzel. It's about this incredible mental balance. It's the ability to stay steady, to stay composed, whether you land that massive contract or you lose it. It's all about detaching your ego from the final score.
This whole philosophy has a name, karma yoga, the yoga of action. And it is a radical shift in perspective. Instead of working for a reward, you make the work itself the reward. You elevate your actions by pouring every ounce of your focus into the process, not the prize.
And what's amazing is that ancient scholars saw this exact psychological trap centuries ago. The philosopher Adi Shankaracharya warned that when you're constantly craving results, you become a bound agent, basically a slave to the outcome. It just breeds fear and impatience. But on the flip side, as Sri Ramanuja pointed out, when you detach, your work becomes a kind of worship, something pure and powerful in its own right.
This leads us to the key skill we need to develop. And honestly, it's a mental superpower. It's called equanimity. The original Sanskrit word is samatvam. And I want to be clear, this isn't some passive, whatever happens, happens vibe. It's an active, powerful state of mind. Think about a surgeon who stays completely calm during a complex operation, or a leader who doesn't panic when a crisis hits. That's samatvam. That's equanimity action. And it's so important to make this distinction. Equanimity is not indifference. Indifference is passive. It's apathetic. It's not caring. Equanimity is active and focused. It's about being emotionally stable, not emotionally checked out. It is a genuine performance hack, not a sign that you've lost your ambition. So here's the paradox that's so powerful. By letting go of your anxiety about the finish line, you free up all this mental and emotional energy to focus completely on what you're doing right now. You can give 100% to the process, which, ironically, makes a better result far more likely. Now this isn't just some ancient theory. Let's look at how some modern masters put karma yoga into practice every single day. Take the legendary Indian cricket captain MS Dhoni, a guy famous for being Captain Cool under insane pressure. His secret? It's pure karma yoga. He isn't thinking about lifting the trophy or the roar of the crowd. His entire world is focused on the very next ball. He controls what he can control and, well, the results speak for themselves. Or how about Warren Buffett? His most famous piece of advice is just pure equanimity. It's all about resisting the emotional herd mentality of the stock market. While everyone else is panicking during a crash or getting swept up in greedy euphoria, he stays steady. That allows him to make clear, rational decisions. He doesn't let the market's fruits dictate his actions.
And then there's Mahatma Gandhi, who called the Gita his spiritual dictionary. He embodied this in his decades-long struggle for India's independence. He truly believed that giving your full, righteous effort was, in itself, a complete victory, no matter what the immediate outcome was. And that mindset, it gave him unbelievable resilience to push through countless setbacks.
Okay, so how can you and I actually apply this? Let's get practical. Here's a 4-step practice to get you started.
First, refocus on your role. Start defining your success by the quality of your work, the stuff you actually control. Second, adopt a long-term view. A bad quarter or a failed project, that's not the end of your story. It's just a data point on a much longer journey. Third, practice mindfulness. Seriously, even just 10 minutes a day can train your brain to respond thoughtfully instead of just reacting emotionally to stress. And finally, number 4, embrace selfless action. Try to connect with a purpose that's bigger than just your paycheck. When you believe the work itself matters, it's so much easier to detach from personal gain.
Ultimately, it all comes down to this powerful image. Be the archer who is completely absorbed in their stance, their breath, the release of the arrow, their form. They aren't nervously glancing over at the scoreboard after every single shot. They have a deep trust that if the process is perfect, the arrow will find its mark.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What could you really achieve in your career, in your life, if you weren't carrying the weight of that fear of failure or that obsession with success? What could happen if you just fully and completely focused on the action?